Probably one of the biggest events that led to me getting involved with being a photographer of whales happened when I was 14 years old, and I wasn't even there. I think it was a pretty sure thing that I was going to be a diver. My mother's father and uncle did underwater construction work with hard hat gear, building things like piers along the California coast. And in the 60s, my mom was even a cover girl on Skin Diver magazine. My father, Chuck, was a sport diver and champion spearfisherman, and in 1959 opened the Diving Locker, the second dive shop in San Diego. One of his partners, Connie Limbaugh, the first diving officer at Scripps, died in a cave diving accident and left my father an underwater movie camera and an underwater still camera, which was a pretty big deal in the 1960s. These cameras were going to play a pivotal role in January of 1963 when my father rode a whale. My dad was off of La Jolla diving with friends, and they saw a whale in the distance. We saw whales all the time. Gray whales went close to the coast going north and south on their migration. But this wasn't a gray whale, it was a Brutus whale, and it wasn't going anywhere because it was caught up into the anchor line of a gill net. My father got in the water with a camera and one of his buddies with the spear guns to swim up and photograph and film the whale. This was before whales were gentle giants. It was a big, powerful animal, and they weren't sure what was going to happen. It was really a big adventure and thought to be fairly dangerous at the time. And after they had photographed the whale and filmed the whale was very calm, and my father swam up and actually got on the whale's back and had his picture taken by his friend Bill DeCourt. They took their pictures to Rolla Williams, a sports editor at the San Diego Union, and he was someone you'd take a picture of a big fish or a big lobster to. It was good advertising for the dive shop. But the pictures were really popular. They ran in the San Diego Union and across the country. And it probably would have stopped right there, except they had movies. They had 16 millimeter movies, which was a big deal at the time. And there was a young man with a variety show after the late news in San Diego, a very young Regis Philbin, who had my dad on to show his film, to show the pictures of whales underwater on film. After the show, they took that film, they sent it to New York and to a production company called Goodson Todman Productions. And one of their shows was To Tell the Truth. 3 people came on telling a wild story. One of them was telling the truth. My father went to New York. He was the guy on To Tell the Truth, telling the real story. And in the audience, in the TV audience, was Bates Littlehales. He was the underwater guy for National Geographic in the 50s and 60s. He looked up my father. He'd been thinking about doing whales underwater, and my father was a whale expert. He'd seen one. Seeing that first whale led to all kinds of things for my father. He became the go-to second guy on whale projects. One of the first documentaries on humpback whales, Gentle Giants of the Pacific. He started working for National Geographic on a number of projects, but especially the first big humpback whale story in 1979. And he came to Hawaii on an IMAX film in 1979 when they brought me as a production still photographer that started my whole career. Really important here, I should let you know that after they photographed that whale off of San Diego and filmed it, my father dove down freediving and took the line off of the whale's tail, and it swam away and looked to be fine. But boy, we were changed forever. My father was one of the first presenters at Whale Tales in 2006 in Lahaina, and he was back this year and was being congratulated for all the things he had done by Jean-Michel Cousteau. Thank you. And just a note, today's story came in as a request from somebody who sent in a note from last week's talk. Have a good day. Bye-bye.